Ricky Nelson. The name once captivated millions of teenage hearts, making him one of America's first true pop idols and a beloved television star. From his charming smile to his timeless hits, he seemingly had it all. Yet Ricky Nelson's life came to a tragic end in a fateful plane crash in 1985, leaving a void in the hearts of his fans and countless unanswered questions. Now, decades after his untimely passing, a final message Ricky Nelson left for his fans has come to light. More than just a farewell, these words reveal a shocking truth about his life, his hidden struggles, and perhaps even ominous premonitions about his fate. Join us as we delve into this profound communication and what it truly reveals about one of the 20th century's greatest musical legends. Ricky Nelson, the final tour on a fateful DC-3. Ricky Nelson, America's first teen idol and a rock and roll legend, achieved unprecedented success in the music industry before his life was tragically cut short. Life magazine actually coined the term teen idol specifically to describe him in 1958. From 1957 to 1961, Nelson amassed an impressive 29 Hot 100 singles and 9 gold records by the age of just 21. His hit, Travelin' Man, reached #1 and sold over 2 million singles, while Hello Mary Lou became his biggest success, topping charts in 32 countries and selling over 7 million copies worldwide. However, on December 31st, 1985, Nelson's remarkable journey ended when his DC-3 plane made an emergency landing near DeKalb, Texas, at approximately 5:14 p.m. CST. The tragedy claimed the lives of 7 people, including Nelson, at 45 years old, his fiancée Helen Blair, sound technician Donald Clark Russell, and members of his Stone Canyon band. At the time of the accident, Nelson was deep into making his first album of original music since 1981 and was in the midst of what many considered his comeback tour. The circumstances surrounding the plane crash, beginning with a smoke report from the cabin at 5:11 p.m., would soon become the focus of intense investigation and public speculation. In May 1985, despite a significant fear of flying, Ricky Nelson made a fateful decision that ultimately led to the tragedy. The rock and roll star purchased a 1944 Douglas DC-3 14-seater aircraft for $118,000. This vintage plane, previously owned by the DuPont family and later by Jerry Lee Lewis, became Nelson's primary mode of transport as he embarked on what many considered his comeback tour. Nelson steadfastly refused to travel by bus, even though flying posed numerous challenges. His preference for private over commercial flights led him to invest in the decades-old aircraft. The DC-3, though outdated compared to modern jets, offered Nelson the independence he desired for his touring schedule. Furthermore, the plane provided ample space for his band members and equipment, making it seem like a practical choice at the time. However, Nelson's decision to acquire this particular aircraft raised eyebrows among aviation experts who questioned the wisdom of relying on such an old plane for regular touring. Red flags ignored before the tragedy. From the moment Nelson acquired it, the fateful DC-3 was plagued by a series of mechanical issues, a troubling history that should have served as clear warning signs. Nelson's own band once had to struggle to push the plane off the runway after an engine failed, an alarming incident foreshadowing more trouble. In September 1985, a malfunctioning magneto prevented the DC-3 from taking off, forcing Nelson to miss the first Farm Aid concert in Champaign, Illinois. Crucially, just before the final flight from Guntersville, the left engine again experienced rotation issues, indicating another serious problem that hadn't been fully resolved. Most alarming was the crew's consistent trouble with the cabin heating system shortly before the fire erupted on board. Co-pilot Kenneth Ferguson later recounted to investigators that he was genuinely worried about the persistent malfunctions of the heating system and had even refused the pilot's request to reactivate it. However, despite Ferguson's strong objections, the heating system was reactivated just before the disaster, a decision that may have directly led to the tragedy. Tragically, these serious mechanical issues seemed to go largely unheeded by those regularly flying on the plane, with the exception of a few. Andy Chapin, a 30-year-old band member who died in the crash, had expressed grave concerns about the DC-3's safety. His sister-in-law, Laurel Barzy, told the Dallas Morning News, "He didn't want to be on that plane. He had been complaining and complaining for months. He was going to quit because he didn't want to be on that plane." Barzy further revealed that Chapin had told her it was a bad plane and he didn't trust it. Even more tellingly, she added that everyone in the band felt that way, indicating an underlying but ignored anxiety within the group. On December 26, 1985, undeterred by these private anxieties, Nelson and his band still departed for a 3-stop tour in the southern United States. After performances in Orlando, Florida and Guntersville, Alabama, they boarded the troubled DC-3 for a New Year's Eve celebration in Dallas. Rick reportedly felt compelled to make it to Dallas, even after the engine trouble in Guntersville. According to Lynn Upton, wife of PJ's Alley Club owner Pat Upton, the pilots worked on the engine and felt better about it, a belief that may have misled them about the severity of the problem. The decision to continue the flight despite these mechanical issues would prove to be an irreversible disaster. Ricky Nelson's final fateful moments. The final moments of Ricky Nelson's life unfolded tragically in the skies over Texas on December 31, 1985. His DC-3 aircraft was descending in clear weather, but grappling with a rapidly escalating and deadly incident within the cabin. At approximately 1:00 p.m. on December 31, 1985, the red Douglas DC-3, tail number N711Y, departed from Guntersville, Alabama, on an instrument flight plan bound for Love Field in Dallas, Texas. The flight proceeded normally until late afternoon. However, at 5:08 p.m. CST, as dusk settled, the situation on board unexpectedly deteriorated rapidly. Initially, the pilots noticed smoke appearing in the cabin. Just 3 minutes later, at 5:11 p.m., the situation significantly worsened, forcing the crew to contact air traffic control for an urgent plea for help. The timeline of the tragedy then accelerated dramatically. Smoke was first detected at 5:08 p.m. The initial emergency call to Fort Worth Center occurred at 5:11 p.m. By 5:12 p.m., radar showed the plane just 600 feet above the ground. And finally, at 5:14 p.m., radar completely lost contact with the aircraft. As the smoke grew thicker and engulfed the cabin, the pilots desperately tried to find a suitable emergency landing site. According to National Transportation Safety Board Chairman Jim Burnett, miraculously the plane landed successfully on all 3 landing gears and came to a complete stop before being fully consumed by fire, a testament to the rapid and sudden nature of the incident. At 5:08 p.m., just as the situation began to worsen, an emergency radio transmission was sent to Fort Worth Air Route Traffic Control Center. "I think I'd like to turn back, heading for Texarkana here. I've got a little problem," one of the pilots reported. This initial exchange did not yet fully reveal the severity of the unfolding situation on board. A series of subsequent exchanges between the aircraft and controllers concerned directions and distances to various potential landing fields. However, at 5:11 p.m., a crucial transmission revealed the true danger. "Smoke in the cockpit. There's smoke in the cockpit." After this chilling moment, no further radio communication was received from Nelson's plane. Don Ruggles, who was flying a nearby helicopter, overheard these dramatic transmissions and later reported to investigators what he had witnessed. Throughout the flight, he was in distress, but not panicked. Ruggles said, describing the pilot's state, "He seemed to be having difficulty talking, saying they had smoke coming up in the cockpit." Ruggles added that in what he believed was the final communication, he heard the pilot gasping and trying to utter, "We're landing." Those were the last recorded words from the fateful DC-3, ending the journey of Ricky Nelson and those with him in an unforeseen tragedy. Witness accounts of the crash. Numerous witnesses observed the plane's final descent, providing crucial details about its last moments. They consistently reported seeing the DC-3 execute a left-turn descent from the south, lining up with a farm field in a westerly direction. All witnesses noted smoke emanating from the aircraft as it lost altitude. "It was on fire when it flew over me," recalled Donald Lewis, a farmer approximately 3/4 of a mile from the crash site. "It looked like the right engine had a solid stream of black smoke coming from it. It looked like he was trying to keep it in the air. It was horrible." Several observers noticed small grass fires igniting along the flight path from hot metal fragments falling from the aircraft. The plane flew over a house, striking and severing 2 power lines about 30 feet above the ground before landing with its landing gear down in a field. After the landing, the 2 pilots, 34-year-old Brad Rank and Kenneth Ferguson, escaped through their cockpit windows, suffering severe burns. They reportedly yelled towards the passenger cabin, but received no response. Tragically, none of the 7 passengers, including Ricky Nelson, survived the crash. According to the assistant medical examiner in Dallas, autopsies of 5 victims indicated the cause of death was likely smoke inhalation and thermal burns. Following the tragic accident, a comprehensive 18-month investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, sought to determine the cause of the fire that claimed Ricky Nelson's life. While rumors of potential drug use on board circulated widely, investigators found absolutely no evidence of drug use or drug paraphernalia. Conflicting pilot testimonies. The tragedy of the DC-3 carrying Ricky Nelson exposed a disturbing reality about safety protocol failures and conflicting testimonies between the 2 surviving pilots, complicating the investigation. Co-pilot Kenneth Ferguson and primary pilot Brad Rank offered completely different accounts of the events leading up to the crash, raising questions about accountability and the truth behind the fire. Ferguson testified to investigators that the cabin heater had been acting up shortly after takeoff. He claimed Rank had repeatedly gone to the back of the plane to try and fix the heater and continuously asked Ferguson to turn the unit back on. Ferguson even admitted, "One time I refused to turn the heater on. I became more concerned. I didn't think we should be messing with that heater en route." This testimony indicates clear concern about the heater malfunction and a disagreement between the 2 pilots on how to handle it. However, Rank's testimony was in complete contrast. He claimed he first noticed smoke in the mid-cabin when Nelson and his fiancée were seated. Notably, Rank did not mention any heater issues, even asserting he had checked the aft heater and found it cool to the touch. More seriously, Ferguson accused that after escaping the wreckage, Rank instructed him, "Don't tell anyone about the heater. Don't tell anyone about the heater." This admonition further fueled suspicions that Rank might have been trying to conceal the truth related to the cause of the fire. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB final report, concluded that while the exact ignition source could not be pinpointed, there is no doubt that the fire originated in the heater area. Investigators determined that a malfunctioning cabin heater or nearby electrical short circuit was the most probable cause. Significantly, the heater door latches were found unsecured, a critical fault that likely contributed to the rapid spread of the fire. The investigation also identified several critical safety failures by the flight crew, indicating a lapse in adhering to emergency procedures. Rank failed to comply with the in-flight fire checklist. He opened fresh air vents instead of sealing them, potentially intensifying the fire. Neither pilot instructed passengers to use supplemental oxygen, and the portable fire extinguisher in the cockpit was not utilized. The NTSB stated that while these steps might not have prevented the crash, they would have enhanced the passengers' chances for survival. Examination of the wreckage showed that the fire originated in the right rear section of the cabin area at or near the floor line. The investigation indicated that the 7 passengers died from the fire and smoke inhalation rather than from impact injuries. Therefore, understanding the rapid spread of the fire became crucial to the investigation. Although initial speculation suggested passengers died from colliding with obstacles during the forced landing, the firefighters' report contradicted this theory. All passengers were found in the forward section of the aircraft, suggesting they attempted to exit in the final moments. Jim Burnett, the NTSB chairman, noted that although the plane was filled with smoke, it landed successfully and came to a stop before being fully engulfed in flames. This finding reinforces the notion that passengers had very little time to escape, as the fire rapidly intensified shortly after the plane touched down. Ultimately, the official cause of death for all 7 victims was determined to be smoke inhalation and thermal burns, a tragic outcome that might have been prevented had heater issues and safety protocols been more strictly adhered to. How the world learned of Ricky Nelson's death. News of the DC-3 plane crash spread rapidly across the United States on New Year's Eve, 1985, shocking the music industry and deeply saddening fans worldwide. This tragedy marked the end of an era as the world grappled with the sudden loss of a rock and roll pioneer. The crash near DeKalb immediately made headlines, with the scene of the plane circling erratically just after 5 p.m. before crashing in a fiery blaze. Michael L. Cox, a spokesman for the Texas Department of Public Safety, confirmed that 7 passengers had perished while the pilot survived with severe burns. The New Year's Eve concert, that was supposed to be a joyful occasion at the Park Suite Hotel in Dallas, instead became a somber moment as news agencies reported the death of the 45-year-old singer. Adding to the tragedy, Nelson's remains were misdirected during transport from Texas to California, delaying funeral arrangements for several days. Finally, on January 6, 1986, approximately 250 mourners gathered at the Hills Church in Los Angeles for the memorial service, while 700 other fans stood outside, many clutching carnations and weeping. The ceremony remained true to the traditional image of the Nelson family. David Nelson read condolences from President and Mrs. Reagan, concluding with, "May peace ease your pain." Notable attendees included Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis Presley's manager actors, Don DeFore and Angie Dickinson, and Connie Stevens. Following the funeral, Ricky Nelson was privately interred at Forest Lawn Cemetery. Legacy lives on through tributes and final honors. Ricky Nelson's musical legacy endures through countless tributes and accolades bestowed upon him after his untimely death. His contributions to rock and roll, spanning decades, continue to resonate with fans and musicians alike. John Fogerty, former member of Creedence Clearwater Revival, delivered a heartfelt speech honoring Nelson at the 1987 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. During the emotional ceremony, Fogerty praised Nelson not only as a musical inspiration, but also as a personal role model who maintained his grace and humanity while achieving massive success. Tracy Matthew and Gunnar Nelson joined Fogerty on stage to read tributes to their father. This prestigious recognition, which no other child actor had ever achieved, solidified Nelson's place in music history. Throughout the years, Nelson has received numerous other accolades. He was inducted into the Rockabilly Hall of Fame, and in 1994, a Golden Palm Star on the Palm Springs Walk of Stars was dedicated to him. Rolling Stone magazine later ranked Nelson at number 91 on their 100 Greatest Artists of All Time list in 2004. Nelson's legacy will undoubtedly live on through his children. Twin brothers Gunnar and Matthew Nelson tour with a multimedia tribute show titled Ricky Nelson Remembered. Matthew Nelson explained that, "We miss him a lot less every time we perform the show. It helps us to be grounded and centered, to know who we are as people, as Nelsons, and as human beings." Indeed, the Nelson family has achieved a remarkable distinction, earning a place in the Guinness Book of World Records as the only family to achieve #1 record status in 3 consecutive generations. Meanwhile, in 1987, David Nelson directed and starred in a touching hour-long tribute program titled Rick Nelson, A Brother Remembers for the Disney Channel. The enduring appeal of Nelson's music spans generations, as Matthew noted that the audience at his tribute performances ranged from 8 to 80 years old. enduring pain and undying legacy to all hearts that have ever vibrated with Ricky Nelson's melodies. As we look back at Ricky's final journey from the ignored warnings to the conflicting testimonies of the pilots, and then to the moment the fateful DC-3 crashed into the Texas sky on that destined New Year's Eve, our hearts cannot help but ache. We lost not just a talented artist, an icon of youth and innovation, but also a beautiful part of our own memories. The cold details in the investigation report the numbers and timelines can never fully express the pain and loss that we, his fans, felt. Ricky's death was not an unforeseen accident, but rather a tragedy that could have been avoided, a heartbreaking outcome of overlooked warning signs. The uneasiness felt by band members Andy Chapin's desire to quit because he didn't want to fly on that plane, all these were like forgotten alarm bells in the night. Ricky Nelson departed too soon at the age of 45, leaving behind so many unfinished plans and an irreplaceable void in the hearts of those who loved him. But dear friends, the greatest comfort is that his musical legacy endures, living on through time. His vibrant rock and roll tunes, his sweet love songs, have become an indispensable part of the youth of countless generations. We can still close our eyes and hear him sing, feeling the irresistible energy and charm that once captivated millions of hearts. Though Ricky Nelson is no longer with us, his music remains a living testament to his talent and burning passion. Let those melodies continue to reverberate, a reminder of a legend who dedicated his life to art, and also a reminder of the value of every moment lived, loved, and dedicated. Ricky may be gone, but he will forever be the teenage idol